afternoon. Thank you. I jumped that. Good afternoon, everyone. It is afternoon here in Toronto. Good evening to our guests in Israel. I am Tova Train, National President of CHW, and I am happy to invite you to join us this afternoon for our last installment on our Israel-Canada journey. Allow me to introduce Shoshana Mazalski, who is the Director of Market Development with Israel Canada. And she has over 24 years of experience in luxury real estate and investment management, and is a proud leader in the organization's strategic growth and market expansion within Canada. So this is where she works on building relationships with us, with the Canadians, and with our CHW people, and connecting the clients to premier real estate, residential and investment real estate opportunities in Israel. Shoshana works closely with members of the Canadian Jewish community, and she is providing us with thoughtful, personalized guidance to the families and investors, and helping us to deepen our connection to Israel through the real estate opportunities. Beyond her professional work, Shoshana is actively engaged in grassroots initiatives and combat anti-Semitism and advocate for Israel, and we really appreciate that. Before Shoshana begins, I just want to remind everyone, and when you have questions at the end, and Lisa Cole-Kotler, our CEO, will be managing those, just type your questions into the box at the bottom and we will see them. So take it away, Shoshana, and thank you for all you've done for us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tova. It's lovely to be back here. I'm so glad everybody's joining us for the final version of our webinar. We basically touched on a bunch of different topics throughout the series. Why move to Israel, the different options that our company has available to everyone else. Our last webinar touched on both the legal and the financial taxation issues. And to wrap it all up, we wanted to hold something about Aliyah. So our office is lucky to have a NAV with us. And NAV works with our international clients who are coming from abroad, who are purchasing for the purpose of Aliyah. So she basically holds everyone's hand through the entire process, because everything in Israel is a little bit complicated, and she makes it less complicated for everyone. So I want to introduce everyone to Einav and hand it over to her.
Hi, toda rabba. Toda Shoshana, toda Tova. It's a pleasure to be here. And as Shoshana mentioned, I'm doing the global development in Israel, Canada. I'm dealing with Jewish communities for the last 22 years. I'm doing real estate for the last 16 years. I think that my main mission is to create this safe environment that Shoshana spoke before to those communities, and to build a seamless procedure for them here in Israel. So as mentioned, this is your fourth session, and today we are going to focus on Aliyah. I will share from my professional and my personal experience. And of course, if you have questions, Shoshana and me, we are always available. I will just mention Amit. Amit is leading the activity in Canada together with Shoshana, and they are doing an amazing job. And he is always available also for you. Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to mention I forgot to mention that Amita wasn't able to join us today because he had a family obligation. I was supposed to say that, but
it's okay. It was important.
He's happy to help you guys if you need.
Great. So I will share a short presentation that we've made for you. And the first thing that it's important for me to say before we will dive in is that we are going to give the general frame of Aliyah. I think that one of the most important things is that each individual or family that consider to make Aliyah they will need to make the adaptation according to their own status. So this is something that important to say. When we are speaking about Aliyah in Israel, I think that Israel have a comprehensive package of benefits. It reflects with finance, tax, education, housing, healthcare, and integration in the community. But for us and for our customers, the two major benefits, tax benefits that we are dealing almost on a daily basis with our professionals is the 10 years income tax exemption and the purchase tax reduction. If you will ask me, I will divide the benefits for two. One is a strategic, and the other one is touching the daily base and making your daily base costs very easy. In addition to that, you have the income tax credit that up to 4.5 years. And when we are speaking about the purchase tax, we are always compare it to a regular 8% tax purchase for a foreigner that comes and purchase properties here in Israel. You can see a dramatic change when you are doing Aliyah. The costs are between 0% to 0.5%, and you have a degrees. This 0.5%, it's until apartments, housing, till 6 million shekels. The numbers here are in shekels, of course. And what's important also that have a window of a year before you are doing Aliyah till 7 years from the time that you are making the Aliyah, so you need to take it under consideration. In addition to the purchase tax and the income tax credit point, another major benefit is that if you have investments, private companies, trust, rental incomes, you have the 10-year income tax exemption. And that brings us that I can tell you that the most successful process that we made with our advisors to our customers was the one that we make everything in advance and planned in ahead, especially regarding those two benefits, the 10 years income tax exemption and the purchase tax reduction. That make a huge difference. In addition to that, you have a mortgage assistance, you have a rental assistance for the first half a year, and of course, Arnona discount. Arnona discount, for those who doesn't know, Arnona is the municipality tax that we are paying each of us to a municipality that we are living here. You can have up to 90% of discount, and this is also one of the important thing in the benefits. So those benefits are under the Sal Klita. In terms of healthcare, you are entitled to a 6-year, even if you don't have an income in Israel, to have the ability to be part of one of the three Kupat Cholim. Kupat Cholim is the insurance of the government. You can choose each insurance that you want and go with that. You have a daycare help. The daycare help depend with the income that you have. it depends if you are participate with the Ulpan. And when we're speaking on Ulpan and education, I think that one of my strongest recommendation about the Ulpan is don't skip that part. Lots of our customers are saying that, everybody in Israel are speaking English, and when we've made our visits, it was easy to handle. But Ulpan is not only a place to purchase the language. Ulpan, I think, is the first step to create your own community with people. I have uh, um, clients from the age of 16 until 60. The Ulpan is making everything, attached together. So don't skip that. In addition to that, you have benefits if you want to make your BA and MA in the universities in Israel. In terms of tax-free benefits, you have a list of things that you are entitled to have tax-free on them, on your household goods, on furnitures, on appliances. You have a list of things that you cannot bring. If you want to make import for vehicle, you can do it, but you need to examine it under the regulation of the Israeli government. This is a timeline that Shoshana made in terms of if you want to receive this document and to see the subjects and how to prepare yourself, you can text her, you can send her an email, and she will gladly share it with you. Shoshana, if you have more things to add.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so we're actually, now that Einav kind of went through it, one of the things we want to do is we actually want to just quickly go through the PDF presentation just to give you guys an idea. So, Einav, are you able to go to page to scroll through it, or you want me to share my screen?
You can share it, that you will be able to control it. Just a second.
Okay, hold on. Give me a second. One sec. Let me see if I can. Okay, so the presentation that the information that Einav was speaking about, we have created a PDF presentation that walks through both the webinar series and the Aliyah process itself. I'm just sorry, let me just get the layout. So as Einav was mentioning, there are different things like the purchase tax, the different exemptions, and all of the different benefits available to Olim. So for those of you who are looking to Israel for to make aliyah, because some of you guys are looking at Israeli properties more as a vacation or an investment. But the government of Israel has created all of these benefits for those making aliyah. So as Einav mentioned, they range in all kinds of areas, whether it's the home purchase tax, the exemptions, the income tax credits, all of the benefits that they provide you from as a new immigrant to the country. So one of the things that Einav mentioned was the purchase tax credit, which was covered primarily by Yair Givati in the last webinar. There's also, sorry, let me just There's also different programs that the government has set out aside for Olim. So, for example, let's say you're moving to Israel and you want to buy something, but it's not going to be ready yet. There's a rental assistance program during the first year or so of your stay. If you purchase a property, you receive, depending on the size of the property, you receive up to a 90% discount on your first year's property taxes. So the way it works is 12 of the first 24 months. You get a discount, and then you get, as an Oleh Hadash, so a new immigrant, you get mortgage assistance on your home up to a certain value. So if you're buying, let's say, a $30-40 million house, you will not get the same type of benefits as you would on properties up to a certain amount of money. Usually, I believe, and now what is it? 20 million shekels is the cap.
Yeah.
So there's those. And then when you're dealing with young families, there's all kinds of benefits. So the page we're on now, if Einat wants to just give a little, if it's easy, can you see the page we're on, Einat?
Yeah.
So if you could just give a little bit more information on these things. So if you are a young family, there's all kinds of benefits available to you that Einat will just quickly run through.
So, as I mentioned, as young families and also, as individuals, you have in the Sal Klita the direct payment. You have the help with rent after 7 months. You are entitled to receive a daycare assistance, the ulpan, and help with university fee, tuition. Same with healthcare. You don't have even though that you are not working for the first half a year, you are still entitled to have the healthcare insurance that covers you. This is the public by the government. I think that this is the basic and common benefits for young families, for individuals who wish to make Aliyah.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next page. Now, for those who are considering Aliyah, a lot of the times they want to bring everything. This list covers, it gives you a bit like a feeler as to what you can and cannot bring in. There are much more extensive lists that if you guys are interested, we're happy to provide you. If you're sending an entire container, it usually gets there in a reasonable amount of time. If you're sending a mini, like just a small amount of goods, those usually get tagged on, added to larger shipments, and those can take longer times. If you're looking to do something like that, you want to send everything way in advance so that it's there waiting for you. This gives you a bit of a timeline as to how, like, what normally goes on, what you need to do before the process, after the process, before, during, and after, and all of the little, like, what your timelines are like. So we have everything of what you're going to do for the first, like, 6 to 12 months before making the move, and then, like, all of the different things at different stages along the way. So, in the next one, and this is kind of where, with our help and with someone like Einav, Amit, people in our office who can help you, we'd be working with the lawyers, your accountants, of course, as we mentioned before. One of the very first things that you would do is you would start with opening up a bank account because that tends to be one of the more complicated things. And then everything else starts from there. So I think at this point I can stop sharing my screen. Let me see. Stop share. Okay. Then we're back. So that covers the main presentation. And then we kind of just wanted to talk about why we believe that you need someone during the process to kind of just walk you through it. So Einav has worked for years with foreigners, and she'll let you know, like dealing with the Europeans who make Aliyah have a very different experience than the North Americans because it was funny. We just had this conversation earlier today because for Europeans, Aliyah has been in the back of their mind always. You know, this is a place where they in everywhere they look, they still see remnants of World War II. You know, you still have the buildings where those things took place. So for many Jews, for many Jewish communities in Europe, you've had people who've always said that their suitcase was packed and they were ready to go. So a lot of them have already had the bank accounts in Israel. Some of them have little apartments that they bought decades ago as a just in case. We're finding that with the North American community, it's very fresh and it's literally starting from scratch. You know, we have people who talk to us who are interested in properties, and the last time they were in Israel was either for their bar mitzvah or their son's bar mitzvah or a mission that they did a decade ago, but now Israel is at the top of their mind. So it's really, you know, you're starting from scratch. You're learning a new language and you're learning a new culture.
Shoshana, if I can add to that, I think that, you know, to work with the communities in North America is completely different from working with, you know, from the European market, is that you see the desire, and you see the desire especially from October 7. You see it from the young generation that suddenly sits around the table and want to be part of the decisions. And you know, you see it with small steps. The first step is just to examine the things, and you see it's the same steps that everybody are doing. It's a Zoom, is they are touching the ground in Israel for 1 week, just checking, just doing first meetings, not doing anything, not opening bank account yet. They know that this is the first step if they want to do it, but they will not make it immediately. They will examine everything. They will think about everything. They will go back to Canada, to the US, and I see there is a few months later we will receive, okay, we will come again, we will examine again. The process is completely different. It's not the quick, you know, like we have customers from Germany and England, and you know they are taking the flights like buses. You know, they are coming, they are going. The decisions are much more quicker. With North American, they know that they need to do it, but their steps are very, very hesitate and small, and that's okay. This is the reason why we are all here. We have deep roots in real estate with dealing with communities. We know how to handle the things. We know to match the right professionals to each family. Each family have a different requirement. Sometimes only the parents and the kids are making Aliyah, and a few years later, the grandfathers and the grandmothers are coming. So we are here for any process that you want to check, tax process, to check which container or things you can bring. We are here to be and to accompany you the whole way. And this is a long way. This is not something that you are doing. We have customers that are purchasing buildings in a pre-construction situation. And this is a procedure of, Shoshana will tell you, of sometimes 5 years. We are 5 years holding hands together. Even then, even when the things here in Israel becoming tough. We know that those times are critical for our customers, that in those difficult times in Israel, they want to see us. They want to see that we are still keeping their, intentions. So we are here.
You know, first of all, I want to thank you, for a very thorough presentation. And Shoshana, thank you for helping to walk through the PDF as well, because it had great information backing up everything that, Anav had said. So thank you for sharing all of that. I think it was really important. And even if, somebody watching this webinar is on the fence about, like myself, what to do and whether or not, going this route is the right route. I still think it's important information to know. Learned a lot from this presentation. It was thorough and excellent. I wanted to just address a couple questions that are coming in. One question is, if you've purchased a new development before you make Aliyah. So if you've purchased a property, say with Israel, Canada, or somewhere else, and then you make Aliyah before you closed on that property and before you've taken possession, will you still be able to get reduced taxation on your property? I think that was
So
the question.
that is actually something that Yair Givati covered in his previous in the last webinar, where depending on the time frame. So there is a 3-year time frame that you would have to do it in. So let's say you are purchasing with the intention of making Aliyah. That is something that could be dealt with in the contractual process. If you buy something and pay it and then make Aliyah, somebody like Yair, who's an expert in this field, is able to do the paperwork and go through the process to get it back. So yes to both. So it depends on, as we've said, the entire webinar series, every individual case is a little
It's
bit
unique.
different,
Okay.
but the answer would be yes.
So
You
if you've
could,
already paid your tax, you can get a credit or you can get it back if you've paid.
yes,
Okay.
but there is a time frame to do it in. So that's something that's really important to take into account. So let's say you bought something and you're making Aliyah in 5 years, you may not be able to get it back. So the timelines are important. So if Aliyah is in your horizon and you're like, I'm making Aliyah in 2032, yeah, this may not be the right thing for you. The other thing that you may want to remember is you can make Aliyah without being in Israel 365 days a year. I believe there is a 182-day per year requirement to meet certain Aliyah requirements. So I mean, if
You
you're
have to
somebody
pay, so you
that's
have to live
consultant,
there half the time, is what you're saying?
you would still be able to get certain Aliyah benefits. But as I
Okay.
said, it really depends. Every individual situation is different. So yes, doable from both angles, but something that you want to outline in the purchase process. Now you could make Aliyah. Now let's say you're buying something that won't be ready in 5 years, but you're making Aliyah in the next 2 or 3, then you would still get the Aliyah discount, but you would have to make Aliyah.
And do you have to give up your citizenship if you're a Canadian to make
No,
Aliyah? No, you can
actually,
maintain both citizenship.
Canada allows you to have as many citizenships as you want because my kids are like Jason Bourne and have 3.
Mm.
So the way it works is um, as an American and as an Israeli, you automatically have your citizenship. So the only way to not have your citizenship is to renounce it. Canada does not require you to renounce your citizenship. America allows you to have other citizenships as long as whenever in the States, your American one comes first. And internationally, you're bound to American tax requirements. And in Israel, lots of people have lots of different
Yeah.
passports. So my kids would, as Israelis, my kids would still have three citizenships.
So if you make Aliyah, do you still pay taxes in Canada too? If you have income in Canada, I guess so. You have to pay
So
full
that's actually
taxes.
something that Robert covered in our the funny thing is with these webinars, there's a lot of back and forth because the information could be pulled because there's so many different factors in it. The information could be pulled from the other webinars, but it is something that Robert did touch on before, and I don't want to misspeak, but
Okay.
whenever you're dealing with finances and taxation, everybody's status is a little bit different because a lot of people, some people have little money and some people have a lot of money, and each person's different tax status would vary on those. Like, are you somebody who's got millions in your RSPs that you're going to be withdrawing? Yes, those will be taxable. But if you're not, you have different
Right.
taxation requirements.
And then based on what, the presentation you showed, if you're someone who has money in RSPs and you're withdrawing it, you're saying for up to 10 years, that wouldn't be taxable in Israel if you're bringing in that income. Am I understanding that properly?
There are, so actually there's 2 factors here. Um, there are discounts for money you bring in from abroad, but Canada and Israel are part of a taxation pact. So they're actually, you will not, if you're taxed on something in one country, you are not taxed on it in another.
Okay. Okay. So you're
So
not paying
there's
double
no
tax.
double taxation,
Okay.
even after the 10 years. Like,
Okay.
but I will tell you where it is taxable. You have a TFSA. If you withdraw from your TFSA, that would be taxable in Israel after your period of non-taxation.
Okay. Gotcha. Um, and when do these Aliyah benefits start? Like if I get off the plane, is somebody throwing money at
And when you
me?
get off the plane,
Yes.
there's a guy
With money.
waiting. Nav will tell you, but it's actually really funny.
Waiting. Yes.
There is a
Seriously?
guy.
No, seriously. Like I'm picturing myself on a plane. I get off the plane, I kiss the ground like everyone. What happens next? Do I get a baraka? Like what do I get?
So, Nav, you want to go? It's actually really funny to me. You want to talk them through it?
No, I will. You can do it. I think um, you know, this is first one of the benefits that we didn't mention is the airport. First, nefesh and nefesh, every ole have a one direction ticket to Israel. And in the airport, you have a transportation that takes you, to your destination. But in terms of starting the process of receiving the initial payment and rent and arnona, those things you need to make when you are here in Israel. You cannot plan them you can plan them in advance, but you cannot do it from abroad. The things that we strongly recommend is to deal with the tax structure. Those are the things that you need to plan in advance. So no one is going to wait with, packs of money and just give it to you in the airport. Don't expect for that. You will have a procedure that you will need to handle the minute that you will register to the Ulpan. That will start the chain of, of your Aliyah process.
So
Sorry,
hold
go
on.
ahead. Go. No, you talk.
Okay, so actually, one of the things that we didn't like in our presentation, we touched on a bunch of different items. But basically, the government of Israel offers you like a stipend for the first 6 to 12 months. But when you arrive in Israel, so you get off the plane, you start going through customs. When you're there, there's an actual, you go through an aliyah process. So there is a representative in Israel at the airport who deals with people making aliyah, and it takes a little bit of time, but there is it's basically they're holding your hand. The Nefesh B'Nefesh has a program where they hold your hand from the time you get off the plane. They walk you through the whole process. There is a guy waiting for you with a little Nefesh B'Nefesh sign to walk you through the thing, and they help you out at the airport. And the Aliyah benefits basically start at the airport, and they take you to your home. So whether you are going directly to like the apartment you're going to be at or whatever, they take you from the airport to your new place, because most people when they come to Israel come with dozens and dozens of luggage. Once you're at the airport, it's funny because who's making aliyah, because they have their 3 to 4 luggages a person, and you have more luggage than people, and they're there with their reps trying to make sure that everything's organized. And the stipend, like the allowance or the aids that they provide you, are usually available starting at the airport. They hold your hand, they walk you through it. If you guys are looking at a more detailed list, we do have something that we can email you. So you're welcome to email me at toronto@canada-israel.com or call me or whatever. You guys have all of that information. And we're happy to send you the PDF file that kind of accompanies our presentation that has a little bit more detail from the Israeli government and Nefesh B'Nefesh, as well as the shipping companies we've referenced and stuff like that.
Are there advantages to buying a property before you make Aliyah, or should you make Aliyah and then look around and get a feel for areas like where are the Anglos, what neighborhoods? Like, what's your advice on that? Should you rent for a while and then buy? Like, what's the
I
advice?
I think there's a supply and demand issue, right? If
Yeah.
you're of the train of thought, like many of us, that over the next few years, there's going to be a mass exodus of diaspora Jewry coming to Israel, then you want to plan in advance. You want to be able to have a place that's either ready for you or well on its way to being ready for you when you get to Israel. But if you're getting to Israel, that you're planning on going in at the end of 27 or 28. Now you're going to go to Israel, you're going to find the area you like, and then you're going to wait 5 years to live in the area you want, and you're going to be renting in the meantime. It really depends. Do you want to be a renter for the next 7 years? Or sorry, depending on what you're looking at, or do you want to secure a place to live before the mass exodus that you believe might be coming? So it really depends on your situation and the approach you want to take. Like, I can tell you where the Anglos want to live. I can tell you which communities certain groups want to live in. Most people coming to Israel want to live in the center.
Yeah.
They want to be close to Tel Aviv. They want to be close, like they want easy access. They want great transportation. They want to be close to the train line and the LRTs and all of those. So knowing where to go is not something that is going to be a big shocker to you. If you've never stepped foot in Israel, 100% go on vacation, spend a few weeks, try it out. Um, but if you're making Aliyah in 5 years and then you're going to wait 5 years for the place you want to be ready, that's a long time. So it really depends. I think securing yourself a home based on the timeline you want to work on. So let's say your timeline is 3 years, maybe get something in a project that's already under started construction so that by the time you arrive, you're going to be close. If it's 5 years, get something pre-construction. But if you're looking at getting something because there's also in most cases, when you're buying something under or pre-construction, you're also giving yourself the time for it to appreciate in value. By the time you're buying something that's already built, that appreciation has already happened. So you're going to spend more. Or you're going to spend the following 5 years renting until the place that you're buying that's pre-construction gets built. Those are the ups and the downs, right?
Right, exactly.
And Nav, like when you're dealing with most of the Europeans right now.
I want to add for the things that Shoshana mentioned. I spoke earlier about October 7, and I want to tell you that if in the future most of our clients were, at the age of 50 plus, uh, I you see a huge demand for pre-construction areas that they want to have something for their kids in cities that have good universities, good college, and they are building it. They don't have an intention to move to Israel, but you see that the kids want an alternative for the college. I'm speaking about New York, even Miami, LA, Arizona, Chicago. You see that those families are trying to find areas that will give opportunities to the kids, that will have college nearby, that will have good and small community, like for example, Hoda Sharon. Shoshana knows that project well. We have a community from New York that we are working to establish there in one of the buildings. They are trying to see what the alternative, and they are examining the options. So most of the requirements that we are receiving is for a pre-construction for the 3, 4, 5 years ahead.
Okay. So I'm getting some questions about healthcare. Let's just talk about, so you mentioned that, you have to register for
קופת חולים.
correct. Um, And I'm assuming that that insurance helps cover your health care, whether it's for wellness checkups or if you really get sick and you need a hospital stay, that's going to cover you. Okay.
Yes.
And even if you're new Olim, you're covered that way. So your health
Yeah.
care is covered. So that's not
Yeah.
an issue. Okay.
So,
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
Israel's, what I will, a few weeks ago, you had Shai Flati here, who
Mm-hmm.
is like an
Brilliant.
like a specialist in his field. But anybody who knows anything about medicine knows Israel's healthcare system is state of the art. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it really does. As a Canadian, it puts ours to shame.
Oh
You
God,
know,
yeah.
you don't wait 12 months for an MRI. You don't wait 6 months for a mammogram. Like that doesn't happen in Israel,
Right,
because Israel learned a long time ago that the best way to keep a society healthy is to deal with any medical issues right off the bat.
right,
So they don't wait 12 months to deal with an issue because, 12 months ago that little mark you had on your arm or on your face could have just been taken off, you know. Fast forward, you're dealing with something much more severe. So Israel's healthcare system is phenomenal. And it does, you do have an older population. For many years, a lot of the people making Aliyah were older, and most people that I know that made Aliyah were blown away by the healthcare system in Israel. And it's very similar to a universal type healthcare system, a little bit different from Canada, but really covers everything you need.
okay. And then there's a question going back to the benefits again. We talked about you could make Aliyah, only live in Israel for, say, 180 days. And do you still qualify for the Aliyah benefits if you're there for a small amount of time and not the, full time living there?
So I really think there's a time frame that you have to be. I know that they've made a lot of rule changes for this over like in the at the end of 2025, beginning of 2026. They put out a bunch of new guidelines for people making Aliyah because they did have so many members of the diaspora community coming to Israel. It would be, I think it's something that would vary per person. So I can give you a little bit of a scenario. My sister is a high school teacher in Israel. She teaches um, in a regular public high school, and she has several students in her grade 12 classes who who are French and Spanish and who are in Israel while their parents still live abroad and they come in on the weekends and they've basically made Aliyah, but they split their time while their kids go to school there, and they have a guardian who is like an aunt or an uncle. So I think there's varying cases depending. I know there is a time requirement to keep all of your Aliyah benefits. I don't know the exact period, but my friend's parents spend 183 days a year in Israel and they keep their all of their medical and everything else intact.
Okay, that's good to know. So this question is for Anav. You've helped for a long time now, North Americans purchase property in Israel. And what are the trends that you're seeing that are driving increased interest in Israeli real estate? Aside from rising anti-Semitism, but is there anything else that you're seeing as a trend over the last number of years, or things that have changed, that you can share?
I want to tell you first, the first thing that we saw, we see as Israeli is that today is a buyer market. And for many years, you see that when we were trying to explain it and to deliver to the communities abroad, it was very hard to explain it. The local market here in Israel usually was very strong, until I was transferring the money from abroad, the apartments, I didn't have the time, to keep the apartments for our customers. Um, Today you see a different market, and today you see that the foreigners understand that. You see that they are coming with list of demands. They know what they want. Usually, I can give an example of most of my clients from New York. They're coming with a list of demand for the contract. They know that the standard is not enough for them, and they know to take advantage that situation. They know that this situation will not stay long because of the strong demand in Israel. So you see that people from abroad understand the market. If in last years, I needed to explain the market. Today, they are coming very prepared. They know the locations. They know which locations they want. They know to make the compare in prices, and they demand different service. This is one. The other thing that we see, and as I mentioned before, you see a young generation that I think that they are not intent to make Aliyah, okay, but they want to have something here. You see young generation from the age of 14 that push their families to check opportunities because they don't want to go to college. You see young families at the age of 40. That wasn't, part of our foreigners buyers, this 40, 42 years old that purchasing small apartment in Jerusalem, in Tel Aviv. So there is a variety of purchases. I can say that the only thing that didn't make a big difference is that most of them want to live. The first question that I've been asked is if there are some foreigners in the projects that we deliver. They want to live together with their own communities, and
Hmm.
usually they are coming together, 5 to 7 families together. And we know to make the right match for them in terms of locations and communities and synagogues. And I think that in the previous session that Shoshana and Amit show you the projects, I think that they find in the facilities here something that they want sometimes to upgrade their lifestyle, and this is something that that they are coming with new demands that we didn't have that before.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think one of the biggest challenges right now for Canadians in terms of trending is that our dollar is,
Mm.
compared to the shekel is crashing. It's a joke. And
So,
so, purchasing a property with you guys, is challenging because it's going to cost $2 to $3 million to get, a closet. So
So I
any
can
advice on that?
yeah.
Because, I
So
think that's a real roadblock. I know for a lot of people who are not flush with major shekels here. So how?
so so there's a few different factors. Um, One factor is yes, the Canadian dollar is at its all-time low. Um, More because the shekel is at its all-time high, both against the Canadian, the US dollar, and the euro. The government of Israel is talking about putting some constraints on that, lowering the interest rates. They know that such a strong shekel is not always in Israel's benefits.
Right,
So we do expect that the Canadian dollar will start edging up within the next few months, closer to what you had seen over the last 18 months. I remember 15 years ago, one Canadian dollar used to buy 4 shekels. Nobody's expecting to see that again, unfortunately. I wish we did, but it's not a realistic expectation anytime soon. But we do expect the Canadian dollar to go up in value against the shekel, hopefully in the next 6 months. Um, when you buy a property, you're not putting all your money down at one time. So since
Exactly.
you're making installments, you're kind of hedging your a bit like you're not putting down everything now. You're buying something that's going to be ready in 3 years. So over the next 3 years, you're going to be putting down let's say 50% over that period because you're going to qualify for a 50% mortgage. So you're not going to be taking a 2 million, you're not going to be putting 2 million down on a $2 million property. You're going to be putting down 1 million and taking a $1 million mortgage, which is standard to how you would buy a property here in most cases.
right,
You know, I live Midtown. You're not buying anything in Midtown under $2.5 million either. I live in a 90-year-old house. It's
right, right,
you're not they things in Toronto are expensive too. When the Canadian dollar was much stronger, it made a lot more sense comparing properties here to there. It is low, but we are expecting the Canadian dollar to start increasing in value. When you buy a property, you qualify for a mortgage even if you're not making aliyah, you qualify for about a 50% mortgage as a non-resident. You can qualify for a higher mortgage as someone making aliyah because there are all those aliyah benefits that the government offers, including mortgage assistance and loan to value
Yeah,
availability. So all of those play a factor. Buying in Israel is expensive. We're not looking at
right,
something in middle
right,
America. Israel
right,
is one of the most expensive places to buy property because Israel is the where we all kind of belong and where we all know we have a home, and
right.
there's a cost to that.
Right, right. We've got to wrap up. And unfortunately we couldn't get to every question. So I'm, encouraging those questions, to be asked directly to Shoshana and Nainav, and we'll send out their contact information in our follow-up email. I want to thank you both so much because, purchasing a property in Israel is more than just a real estate transaction. It's an investment
exactly.
in family and community, in identity, in your future, and in the state of Israel. And so, thank you for sharing your expertise. And to all of the speakers over this four-part series, thank you for helping to demystify this whole process for our audience. It's a big decision, no matter what the decision is for, and the purpose of it. And the purpose of it today may change in 3 years, 5 years. So for whatever reason you're looking at making this decision, I think it's great that we've had this series available for everybody to become better educated on the process. So I want to thank you both so, so much for being here today. And to those that are watching, we will send out a link to this session. And of course, it will also be a link to all 4 parts. So you can watch and rewatch and share it widely. Feel free. And the contact information for all the speakers will be made available again. Very, very, very quickly, just a reminder, our next webinar takes place on June 23rd at 7 p.m. It's called Parenting Children with Challenging Behaviors. Please join us. The registration is on our website, and we welcome Dan Dahlberger, who is the founder and executive director at the Center for Nonviolent Resistance Therapy and Practice, as our guest speaker. So looking forward to that, and thank you all very much again for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.